Hello. It is 9:57 in the morning on September 6th, 2020. This is late for me starting a video, but I've been up for the normal length of time. My family's not even home, and I'm still just not sleeping like my normal weird self. But I've been having a good morning. I've been productive. I've spent the last hour and a half editing my romance novel and really enjoying that. I'm revising a part where they go to a little small town, family restaurant, and it's an Italian restaurant. My husband's family owns like this super local kind of Italian restaurant. It's like the oldest restaurant in Nevada, so I've spent a fair amount of time there. And this scene I wrote a while ago, I put in a lot of the just the details about all the cute little old Italian people and their food in their restaurant. I just plopped them straight into the book. And it's so charming to read and revisit the emotions that made me want to write that. So it's been a really pleasant way to spend my early working hours. I know an hour and a half probably doesn't sound like a ton if you're working a traditional job, because it's standard to work at least 8-hour days. But I've seen studies that say that you can really only do super mentally intensive work like 3 or 4 hours a day before it gets to be a lot of strain. And that seems to roughly align with my experiences. I usually only work 3 or 4 hours on a good normal day. When I'm not doing well, which is also often because I have disabilities, I may only work an hour or two of really focused time. The entire time that I'm working feels like mental gymnastics. It feels literally like hanging my brain on a jungle gym and expecting it to go across the monkey bars and down the slides and climb up the rock climbing wall and get on the spinny thing. Like, it's just constantly moving through this mental space that I've created, trying to track what every character might be thinking and feeling in the scene, trying to make sure that this scene is supporting the character arc, which is the entirety of the plot in romance novels. Trying to make sure that I am getting rid of anything extraneous that doesn't serve to support that character arc or the themes that I am putting into the book. Theme is just as important to me in many ways as the plot of a story. I often find that when I bounce off of a story, it's because there was no intentional theming to it, or the theming was opaque to me, or the theming just didn't speak to me. You can give me 2 movies that are exactly the same. Let's say Wizards and Swords over here and Wizards and Swords over there. But because these Wizards and Swords have a coherent theme about, let's say, deforestation, I'll click with that because I can see what the story is saying about an environmental issue or whatever, just as an example. But if there's this other Wizards and Swords movie over here that isn't really trying to say anything, it's just wizards running around with swords, that's cool. And I get why that appeals to many people. But for me, I really need that theme carrying the plot forward. Excuse me. This is Charlotte. She is one of the new babies. I think I have brought Emily to a video, and I haven't brought Charlotte yet. Unfortunately, with the lighting the way it is, I'm sure you can't really see her. It's the problem with black cats, which isn't really a problem. I can see her fine. You can't see her very well. And she's very cute. It's a shame you should be able to see her. Yesterday was productive for me in general. I've been feeling really productive these last few days, thanks to the help of my author colleagues keeping me focused with sort of digital co-working spaces. And it absolutely helps having my kids occupied by school. I don't think that I could take advantage of these digital co-working spaces if my kids were still home all the time. I mean, I wasn't taking advantage of them. I had friends start a daily meeting to get work done months ago, and I just didn't join them because it's so hard for me to really do so much as an hour and a half of focused editing at a time. I struggle a lot with feeling guilty about not being there for my kids when I'm working, if they're home. My husband is also working from home, but he can pop in and out of his work really easily, whereas climbing the mental jungle gym of writing, if I get sidelined at any point, it's really hard to get back on track. So my husband will typically be the one feeding them and meeting their needs during the day. If I try to work, I feel guilty about it. I don't think I should feel guilty about it, but I do. And that is just sort of my superpower as someone Catholic in origin, is guilt. I had the weirdest thing happen yesterday where I was really productive early in the day, and then I told myself, okay, you need to relax. I was really wrapped up in work. I could have just kept going and going, but I had been sitting down to work on it for so long, and I didn't want to wipe myself out. I have a habit of working in these big bursts because I'm passionate at that moment, and then struggling to work when I'm not passionate about it. It becomes impossible to hold that level of intensity. There's a feeling of failure when I'm scraping along for work at these other times. So I'm trying to keep myself in more of a routine. It's like I just work at these specific couple of hours in the day, and then I need to spend a while trying to relieve myself of whatever pressure it may have put on me, whatever stress I'm experiencing. I need to go move my body. I need to entertain myself with something else, shift gears. Yesterday I tried to do a gear shift, and I didn't want to do anything. I realized that my productivity was effectively disconnecting me from how excruciatingly bored and miserable I am in quarantine. I think I've run out of ways to entertain myself in quarantine. I'm still home most of the time. I go for walks outside, but it's hot and smoky. I'm not comfortable going to the movies yet, even though I was contemplating seeing Tenet. Oh, be careful with that. I don't want you to get hurt. I'm going to keep an eye on you. I might have to put those up. It's the blind cords. They're like kind of they're a strangulation hazard for human babies, and I imagine the same must hold for animal babies. It's okay while I'm right here, though. I can only do the same thing so many times before they no longer give me peace, I guess. I was getting a lot of pleasant oblivion out of playing games while watching TV shows earlier in the quarantine. I really did that for months. Now I'm trying to do that, and my patience for it isn't there. My patience isn't really there for work either. Not at the levels of zoning out you can do with a TV show and a game. With TV show and game, I can turn off for 6 hours like that, or I could earlier in quarantine. With work, I'm shutting my brain off with 3 or 4 hours of focused activity. Yesterday was a lot of working on figuring out my social media plan. I've never been good at social media in any organized, businessy sort of way. It served me well enough. I have like a decent following on Twitter, as much of a following as I would want. And the same holds for Facebook and Instagram. Like, I'm pretty happy with where I am, but I just want to make it easier. I want to use these social media to actually communicate with people better about my books as well. So I've been trying to figure that out. And that was just absolutely consuming me yesterday. It's like my brain is treating that like the game. But I still get that like burned out feeling from it. So I know I can't do it over and over and over. I just don't know what else to do. Been walking my dogs, rearranging my house, cleaning things. Pretty bored of that too. I've been getting rid of old clothes that are not fitting anymore or worn out. Bored of that too. Plus, I don't have any more clothes to get rid of. I am not in a mood for drawing at the moment. That comes and goes. I'll have a couple weeks where I draw a ton and then a couple weeks where I just whatever. I'm so bored. I say this because I'm not someone who usually gets bored. I've always been able to keep myself busy. And now I'm just really struggling to do that. And even nice things that should be nice just aren't feeling super nice. That's probably also depression. How can I be depressed with these babies? I think I'm going to end there. I'd like to get a bit more editing done before I move on for the day. So I hope that your weekend is going well, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.